Why does Sri Narendra Damodar Das Modi insist on calling Rahul Gandhi Shahensa, which is the Urdu word for prince? He could have very well called him Rajkumar, which is the Hindi version of it, but he never takes that title. He always denotes or calls Rahul Gandhi as Shahensa. Now, obviously, Modi, being the astute orator, political strategist, and mass psychologist that he is, in all of which he is extremely competent, almost awesomely competent. He is not one to attach a title to somebody without some very profound meaning and deep insight and a great purpose. So it was this that made me think and think and think as to why this particular insistence exists and goes on unabated on the part of Sri Narendra Modi. And I'm going to share with you in this video what I have found out in the course of seeking for an answer. Now, one of the teachings of Jesus Christ that I take very seriously is the teaching where he says, seek and you will find. If you seek, you will find an answer. And therefore, seeking for me constitutes the robustness of life. It doesn't matter how old you are in your body, you could be 75 years old, 80 years old, 100 years old. You could still be young in your mind if you retain the seeking habit. I had the good fortune to know a person of this kind who in my mind still remains very beautiful. I met him for the first time when he was 82 years old. This was about 25 years ago. He's very famous. Let me give you his name. His name is Maulana Waiduddin Khan. I had the good fortune to work with him, but very closely with him on various issues, because Swami Agnivesh and I founded a movement called Religions for Social Justice. And when we approached Maulana Waiduddin Khan, he very readily joined the movement. And the main purpose of the movement was to promote communal harmony and peace in the society. And this venerable old Muslim theologian, by then he had written 102 books, all of them quite respected in the Islamic world. He was known for his scholarship throughout the Islamic world. And he also used to write regularly in the Times of India. In those days, Times of India also used to carry my articles. So we were in that sense also connected. Maulana Waiduddin Khan's education was all in Urdu, therefore his English was not particularly good. And I happened to be, dabbling in English as a language of my thinking, communicating, working, etc. That was my working language. Now, whenever I was in conversation with Maulana Waiduddin Khan, and he came across an expression which he seemed was beautiful, he would immediately open his notebook and note it down. I have never seen anyone like him. He was already 82 at that time, and I interacted with him at least right up to the time he was 102, and I found no change in him in that respect. As of now, I do not know if he is still alive. May not be, because if he is alive today, he would be at least 110 years old. I don't think he is. After I moved away from Delhi, I lost touch with him. I shouldn't have, but my public relations skills are not very good. So anyway, so I found this beautiful quality in him, a great seeker. So Whenever I remember the teachings of Jesus Christ, seek and you shall find, the first face that comes to my mind is not a Christian face, it's the face of this venerable old Muslim scholar, Maulana Waiduddin Khan, in whom I found the beauty of seeking, the eager, keen seeking, like in nobody else's case. Anyway, this would be as an aside. Now, I've been seeking an answer to this question as to why Sri Narendra Modi insists on referring to Rahul Gandhi as Shahinshah. Shahinshah. Shahinshah, yes. Forgive my very poor Urdu pronunciation. Now, I have a particular insight. Now, it may seem far-fetched, and I offer that as my caveat, but there's an interesting thought in this. I'm sure you'll be interested. Now, Sri Narendra Modi is far more intuitive than he himself realizes. Probably he thinks of himself as a great a tactician, strategist, thinker, a man who understands the sum total of India's life, to whom administration comes, just like that. He takes to administration like fish to water. Is perfectly in charge of the situation. Put him in any context, he is right on top of it. All that is fine. But what people don't realize, and what perhaps he himself does not realize, is that he is far more intuitive than he thinks he is, or far more intuitive than he is given credit for. And when a person is intuitive without his knowing it, we are justified in looking for meanings in what he says, of which he himself may not be aware. Now, this is something that you will understand only if you share my literature background. This is a principle well understood in literary criticism, that a literary critic does not have to limit himself to getting the meaning, only that meaning which the original author at the time of writing it was conscious of having put into his work of art, novel, story, whatever. I'm sorry, my sentence got a little convoluted. The moment I get into technicalities of literature, this happens, but therefore I promise you I will not stray into literature. So I just wanted to make this point that when a person is intuitive, his statements will have meanings of which he himself may not be aware, but it does exist, and he is the reason why these meanings and these possibilities are created. Therefore, even if he is not aware of it, we must attribute the authorship to him. So, here I owe this insight primarily to Sri Narendra Damodar Das Modi. And what is it? Now, perhaps there is an unconscious connection that Sri Modi ji connects Rahul Gandhi to the image of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now my Muslim brothers and sisters should not get very upset with me. Please listen carefully, and if after listening to what I have to say you feel that I have overstepped my boundaries, please let me know. I will apologize and I will withdraw this video. Now, what could be the similarity? I am not saying that Rahul Gandhi is Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Muhammad is Rahul Gandhi. I am only saying that there are similarities possible. For example, there can be similarity between you and Jesus Christ in one particular aspect. For example, if you have a sense of purpose which is highly developed, then I could say that you have that element of Jesus Christ in you in relation to that particular trait, that you have an unwavering sense of purpose and you are willing to pursue it unmindful of the cost it would exact on you. In that sense, in a similar fashion, I would say that there is a similarity that I perceive between the predicament of Rahul Gandhi and the predicament of the early Prophet Muhammad soon after he got that great revelation, that self-realization through his meditation in Mount Hira, which process began when he was 40 years of age, if my information is right. Now the point is this: when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, attained that very special state of enlightenment, when he was able to break himself loose from the limitations of the given, visible, immediate world and perceive universal realities, the reality that supervenes all of this, and therefore was able to look at the human predicament not just in terms of the existing ideas, conventions, practices, stereotypes, but also in terms of the eternal and universal insights, wisdom, etc. And that is when he realized that he was being given this revelation by God himself, and a revelation he cannot keep to himself, but he is obliged to share it with the whole world. That is how he becomes a prophet. Who is a prophet? Prophet is one who receives understanding from the Almighty, from a divine source, and then feels the imperative need and the irresistible, undeniable duty to transfer that to a people who stand in need of it. That's the function of a prophet. Now, after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received this state or attained this state of enlightenment, and he began to receive these eternal revelations from the divine, he experienced a practical difficulty, and that is, who will believe in him? Who will believe in him? Suppose Prophet Muhammad at that time went to somebody here and there and said, I had this revelation, God revealed these thoughts to me. They would say, there's something seriously wrong with him. Probably he has lost his balance or something. And in fact, many people thought so. Many people ridiculed him. I'm not a scholar, therefore I don't know all the details. Maybe you should get in touch with a good, sound Islamic scholar. Very fascinating stories, experiences. Now, the one person who believed every word of what the Prophet said concerning his higher realization and his very special mission received from God was his wife Khadija. And Khadija was older than him by a good 15 years, so she died. And then Prophet Muhammad married thereafter. And the wife he was most fond of was Aisha, was much younger. And the story goes that one day Aisha asked the Prophet, who do you like most between Khadija and me? Khadija, she was already a widow when you married her. She was old. Now I'm young and I love you dearly. Am I not your most favorite, most dearly loved wife? Prophet said, no, not at all. It is Khadija. Why? And he said something that moves my heart. He said, Khadija believed in me when nobody else in the world would. That's beautiful. Khadija believed in me when nobody else in the world would, and therefore she'll always remain my most dearly beloved. My dear friends, I can understand the spiritual, emotional, human and humane aspect of those words. They move me very profoundly. Now, why do I recall this event in connection with Rahul Gandhi? Sometime, a few hours ago, I did another video presenting Rahul Gandhi as an enigma to the opposite camp, and they do not know how to deal with this enigma. So I'm keeping that at the back of my mind. I'm not going to repeat any of the things that I said included in that video. Now, I have a feeling, and this feeling is nothing new, it's been there for quite some time, that Rahul Gandhi is not understood even by his fellow congressmen. It's not only that the Sangh Parivar, BJP circles, his adversaries do not understand him. They don't understand him because they don't want to understand him. Even more poignant is a fact that his fellow congressmen don't understand him. Why do I say this? I say this because in the last 10 years or so, this young man has come up with so many ideas, so many standpoints. He espoused many causes, took up many issues, In all of that, he was alone. I used to look very eagerly to find out if any Congress leader of substance would really publicly identify himself as Rahul Gandhi. I haven't found any. I don't think it is because Rahul Gandhi wanted to distance himself from all fellow congressmen because he wanted to stand like a single titan towering above the rest. That's not the case. His fellow congressmen just could not bring themselves to identifying themselves fully with Rahul Gandhi because I am today inclined to believe they could not understand this man aright. So they too had the same problem. And I think this is a problem similar to what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, faced soon after he received his enlightenment. So now I hope you realize that the comparison I am drawing is not very far-fetched. And this predicament is not exclusive to Prophet Muhammad. It is common to everyone who looks beyond the visible, the immediate, the practical, the mundane, the terrestrial, and intuits something of higher realities. For example, Lord Buddha, or Jesus Christ after fasting for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, when he has a very, very enlightened, he acquires a very enlightened view of the human predicament and the eternal realities of life. And the Jesus of thereafter, the Jesus after that experience is radically different from the Jesus prior to that. Therefore, what he would say, the things that he would advocate thereafter would strike to people as extremely abnormal. Why do I say this? Because in the Gospel of Mark, it is stated, something very shocking is stated, that his mother and his brothers went to the place where Jesus was teaching and wanted to bring him back home by force, fearing that he had become mad. That's why I'm saying that when you reach this stage of enlightenment, even your dear ones will have serious difficulties in understanding you and coming to terms with you. It is an eternal human problem. And Plato deals with it in the Republic, in the allegory of the cave. If I deal with the allegory of the cave in this video, time will get out of hand. Therefore, I'll make a reference but refrain from developing that thought any further. And you can also come across many other intuitions of this kind in various contexts. So, what I am sharing with you is a thought that is fairly universal, the idea that a person who has a unique personality and a unique sense of mission will always be perceived as an enigma, as some kind of a problem, and in whose presence people are likely to feel uncomfortable, disquieted, and therefore they will react only in a negative and sometimes in a very angry manner. What business does he have to come into our midst to disturb our peace and quietude? So I feel that the kind of predicament that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, found himself soon after his enlightenment through meditation and Mount Hira was the predicament, and still is a predicament, that Shri Rahul Gandhi is in his political mission, and therefore intuitively our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji connects Rahul to that background of Prophet Muhammad, so thinks of him in Islamic terms, therefore uses Urdu, some kind of a connection. Now, these things are not very powerfully established on the face of it, in which case the beauty will be lost. The beauty of these connections depends largely on the very subtle and tenuous nature of these nuances or these suggestions. And these suggestions exist below the level of consciousness. These are unconscious, intuitive nuances and suggestions. Maybe my background as a student of literature puts me at a slightly advantageous position to decode these things, and therefore I offer such thoughts and intuitions with my apologies for my background of literature, which please forgive. But anyway, I can only leave this to your continued reflection. Um, Rahul Gandhi as Shahenshah, an Urdu word, and Urdu is the language used by a particular religious community, and then all this, the enigma, the inability to connect, the inability to pluck the heart of that mystery and to attain a degree of mastery and control over it, which is then experienced by the individual as a sense of vexation, irritation, which comes out in the kind of references made to him, so on and so forth. So if you want to decipher all of this, which is quite a mixture, quite a jumble, perhaps this line of thought that I very timidly and tentatively advance might be of some use to you. Hence, my recklessness in sharing this thought, which I could not have and would not have shared with anybody else. Now that we have been together in this journey for a whole year, we understand each other better, and you know that this gentleman is slightly wonky, slightly off the track, or out of the box, or as Robert Frost says in that beautiful poem, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So the differences that I have in the ideas or insights that I advocate or proffer, I offer, would be largely because I've chosen the road less travelled, which also creates problems for others, which I can't help. I don't want to create any headache for anyone. I have no malicious delight in doing so, but it so happens inevitably. What can I do? So just give a thought to this, and if it doesn't make any sense at all, just forget about it. That's it. We have that freedom of choice. That's the beauty of social media. You don't like it? Just quit it and go. Finished. You don't owe anything to anyone, much less to me. So thank you. Thank you for your patient listening. That's wonderful. It's wonderful to share our hearts just for the joy of being together. Thank you. Bye.